everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terrence Gardino. The week begins on Monday, October the 19th, and there's going to be a great deal of planetary activity. And keep in mind, Mercury is retrograde. That could complicate communications where you might build mountains out of molehills, and it's being stressed by a more impatient, anxious Mars in retrograde. So Mercury's in retrograde till November the 3rd. Mars is in retrograde until November the 13th. So that's all part of this anxious background noise going on in the world. On Monday, the moon, which sets the public tone, is in optimistic, expansive Sagittarius. And pleasure-seeking, harmonious Venus is in harmony with expansive, optimistic Jupiter, as Jupiter is the natural ruler of the sign Sagittarius. So this starts off the work week feeling more upbeat and optimistic, even though there could be a lot of anxious energies in the background. Later in the day, communication Mercury, retrograde, will be in confrontation with unpredictable Uranus. This could bring some surprising news. Now that could be, because of this other positive energies, some unexpected, exciting, good news. Or it just might trigger more anxious reactions. Tuesday, the moon continues in Sagittarius. Early in the day, around 8:30 to about 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, the moon is going to be in tension with Venus. The moon wants to bond. Venus wants a more personal connection, but they're at odds with one another. So there's like you want this closeness, but you're feeling this disconnect. That can also be aggravated with the misunderstandings of Mercury in retrograde and the impulsive impatientness of Mars in retrograde. But by the end of the day, Pacific time, the moon will be in harmony with the sun. So by the end of the day, we start to relax more. We're more into the rhythm of the day. Wednesday, now the moon has moved into more calculating, pragmatic Capricorn. And by midday, the moon in Capricorn is going to be in harmony with negotiating Mercury. Good for selling, good for negotiating, good for writing, good for studying. And by the end of the day, it's in harmony with Uranus. So you're more open to being more progressive, which is ideal for learning new technologies, because Uranus rules over computers, the internet. And Venus, harmonious, pleasure-seeking Venus, will be in harmony with profound Pluto. When Venus is in harmony with Pluto, when we're talking about relationships, which is Venus, there's this compelling need for a deeper, richer experience. It can also, if you've been dating somebody, this could be when you start to really find yourself falling in love. Venus is also the planet of creativity, and this could also really inspire some really profound creative awakening. Thursday, the Sun is leaving 4 weeks of Libra and moving into Scorpio at 4 p.m. Pacific time for those next 4 weeks. Libra was more sociable, wanting more harmony, seeking more compromise. But now with the Sun putting its focus on Scorpio, Scorpio is all or nothing. It's extreme, it's intense, but it can also pull us into our inner world. So it can be very favorable for soul searching, introspection, counseling, or even having an astrology reading. The moon in Capricorn, continuing through Thursday, will be crossing over expansive Jupiter, which it does once every 4 weeks. That can trigger some hopefulness and some optimism. Then it's crossing over Pluto, so that could really intensify the feelings, as Pluto is actually the ruler of Scorpio. And by late in the day, Pacific time, then the moon is crossing over Saturn. Now that could be a time when you are worrying about future events, or it's when you're realizing you've got to get more practical and have a plan. Friday, the moon is now in Aquarius. Aquarius is group-oriented. It represents organizations, it represents friendships. So there's this more of this sociable energy. That moon in Aquarius, by midday Pacific time, will be in conflict with rational Mercury. The moon can be emotional, the Mercury can be rational. So you might be for a couple of hours midday Pacific time, and with Mercury in retrograde, assuming the worst, building mountains out of molehills. Later in the day, now the moon is in hard aspect with Uranus, and that can bring in some emotional upsets and surprises. This Saturday, the moon continues in Aquarius. Venus, harmonious, pleasure-seeking Venus, is going to be in harmony with Saturn. This is a good day for working hard, making money, but also when it comes to relationships, really feeling like you're making some progress. You're building some long-range goals. But it's an interesting thing I talk about often every week, where the moon will be void of course. When the moon is no longer making any aspects to other planets in the chart or in the horoscope while it's still in that sign. So there's no activity. If it's not triggering any other planets, there's no activity. So it's this flat, unproductive energy. Best for staying the course, just keep doing what you're doing, but best to avoid any kind of major new projects. Plus Mercury's in retrograde. It's best to review and reflect, not to be starting new projects. This moon in this void of course moon is going to be there for nearly 24 hours. And that is going to be from 2:55 p.m. Pacific time until Sunday at 2:19 p.m. Pacific time. So the moon void, of course, the positive is reflecting, just meditating. And then we get to Sunday, and come 2:19 p.m. when the moon is no longer void of course, it moves into sensitive Pisces, intuitive Pisces. And it's going to soon afterwards be in harmony with discerning Mercury and then with the Scorpio Sun. Moon, Sun in harmony, all is right in the world. Moon with Mercury, communications are flowing a lot better. And also Mercury, the retrograde Mercury, is crossing over the Sun. A lot of ideas, but it might be a time when you are doing a lot of reflecting on past decisions. Now, before I sign off, I want to remind you I'm available for a one-question offer. You can find me by clicking on the advisor link at the top of the page at astrologyanswers.com's website. But I'm the last one so far on the list. So when you scroll down the list, you'll see a marker that says for more. So click on for more, keep scrolling down, and you'll find me at the bottom of the list. And the time of birth is really important for the best predictions. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.